So I know we're going to be talking about all the latest tech for outdoors, but we're not going to start with tech. We're going to start with the process, like everybody else will start with the same process when you're doing any job. So I want to ask some general business questions to start off. Before I do, I want to introduce our other folks here. So we have Nathan Holmes. Nathan is the Senior Manager of Training for Access Networks, and which is now part of Snap One. And we also have Tomas Fernandez. Tomas, thank you very much. He's a Managing Partner of Fairfield Integrated Systems. So integrator, former integrator, kind of manufacturer guy, integrator, whatever. And your background is also very...
Bit of technology.
Yeah, so Apple and all kinds of stuff. So you're all over the place. So in general, are we finding outdoor activities and sales growing? Who'd like to start that one off?
I would say yes. I mean, as we've changed over the last year and a half, especially on how much people are leaving their properties, there's still a psychological benefit to be leaving to the backyard or just, changing the space, doing different things. You're working from home, you need to walk away from that desk, different things. So I think there's been a reinvigoration of how much the outdoor space is being utilized and the focus on making it a really, good experience rather than just a place to, escape to.
Right. Tomas, same thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing, too, with the outdoors is it's a space that's always been there at the house that maybe they haven't used as much. So what we've seen with our clients is they're really seeing the outdoors as a better ROI on the house they've purchased. They're getting more from the house than they ever did before because it's like, oh, hey, maybe I should use the pool I've got back there. Or, oh, wait, now I can do a Zoom out there. So that's really where the clients have seen, hey, let me get more from what I already have.
Yeah, I was going to say I totally agree with that. What we're seeing is part of the magic is actually using the outdoor space, and if you can blend it with that indoor space so there's a seamless transition between the two, that's the best of both worlds, literally. But we're seeing the majority of the installations that we're doing actually in terms of actual equipment and the like and experiences outdoors, and then in focused areas indoors. So it's just a tremendous add to the business.
That's interesting. So what's the sales process like to be focusing on outdoors? And it's kind of a two-part question. The second part is, are there dollars that are competing for the outside versus the inside? Is it more of a holistic job? Are people shifting more dollars towards the outside? Who'd like to start that one off?
I'll grab that one. I think it's our job as to how we show the project, show the experience to the clients. Especially with new construction, it's almost easier for us because the outside is that sloppy mess, Most of the time, we don't have like the neat outside and then work on the inside. It's normally the other way around. They get the house done and it's like, oh yeah, let's get the outside done. So I actually purposely hold off on the outside and say, hey, let's get the inside done first. Let's take care of this. Let's make sure we have all the provisions, conduits, things like that we need for the outside. But let's separate it because I do think when people are looking at it holistically, it probably would cut into the budget for the inside. But by spreading it out, having them enjoy what they have inside, and then they'll want what they have inside outside more. We've seen that work a good bit.
So let me follow on that one. Are you seeing budgets still be hard fast, or once you get them going on the outside discussion, are you seeing maybe a budget increase a bit or a little bit more being put on the outside?
The budget definitely increases.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Every time. Yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest things is we focused for years on understanding how to do a client needs analysis, but it was primarily inside. How are they using this space? How are they using that space? How big is the family? What devices are they using? All the different things is, we're designing this element for them inside. The outdoor space is significantly different, both from a design approach, capabilities, experience. So part of it is it hasn't really been focused on as much as because it has been, an afterthought. And now as it's, I really want to do this. There has to be a new approach to, asking the different questions, asking what they want to experience. There's, new different experiences. There's different levels, and each client has a different internal vision of how they want to use that space and what they want it for. Some people are super entertaining. Some people it's their escape from everything else. but each of those require unique characteristics and products to achieve that. So it's the struggle for an integrator is how do I change my approach to ask those right questions, and is the budget going to change? Absolutely. But most of the time it's now being driven easily because, oh yeah, I need that feature or I want this. So they're unaware that it even exists. And as we expose them to it, wow, what's that going to run me? Is it worthwhile? In today's age, a lot more things that we didn't see before are happening.
Yeah, just to build on that a little bit, from my perspective, I think you said a really key thing, which is it's first about experience design, because if you're looking at kind of individual features and the like, you drive straight to a budget discussion. We never get into a budget discussion initially, right? It's architects, experience design, outdoor design, holistic, indoor and outdoor, to basically have the client just get so excited about that yes, of course, there's a budget consideration eventually, but at that point, they've already built it into their mental set that they are going to deliver these experiences. And if you can't deliver those experiences, then you've got a different issue. But that's
it's the same way on Wi-Fi. When we start talking how to do outdoor Wi-Fi, it is, I just want connectivity. Okay. No. What are you expecting? Are you expecting seamless high data rate connectivity like you have in the house, on the patio, by the pool, the entire property? What is it that you're expecting? I just need some connectivity down at the beach, and I want maybe some connectivity on the walkway, or I need seamless high-speed data rate connectivity from the road to the beach, and it's 6 acres. Okay, done it. But the whole idea is determining that expectation, and then what is the experience they're looking for? Because homeowners don't understand there's a difference. They just say, I want connectivity. So it's our job to help them clarify what are those questions, really get what the experience is, and then out of that start developing what products would support that, what design, and then you get to the budget.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just add one more thing. In essence, what I see what you guys are saying as, in a way, not to insult the client, but in a way, think why, you know? Well, I want speakers outside, you know, and obviously you don't want to say, why would you want that? No, but understand why they want the speakers outside. Do they just want background noise? Do they want a theme park experience? Do they want to have the Guns N' Roses come out and play by their pool?
Yes.
Why do they want what they want? And us understanding, and I think a lot of times people are scared of asking that question. What happens if you spec in a mid-range speaker when in reality, one, they weren't expecting that, they wanted something much better, you're underselling yourself, and their satisfaction at the end is going to be a lot lower because they were expecting more. Or you oversell it, and now it goes to the budget.
Right.
So I was just going to build in on one quick thing on that. It's showing and having them have the experience versus telling. So to us, it always starts with a demo of what you can actually do. As soon as they hear it, it's sold, right? Like that is what matters. You heard about the early days in that project. And by the way, we have projects that we did the exact same way on, I would say, an order and a half magnitude, smaller scale projects as well. But we always start with demoing. It's like demo, don't tell, because that's what sells that whole experience.
Well, I think that's a lot of it. There are certain, like your experience, because it's not something they're very familiar with. They have to experience it before they understand what it can be. If I just say, like, do you know what immersive audio is? I guess it's stuff around me, okay. Whereas you're all of a sudden walking without realizing it. You've had this whole experience come in seamlessly around you with birds and trees, and and all of a sudden you hear a lumberjack fall next to you. Wait, how did this happen? This became a part of what you did that you can't describe to somebody without them actually experiencing it.
Which, by the way, this is the reason that we're only working with a few custom integrators today, and they all have to have demo experiences. It's a hard requirement.
Yeah.
If you can't demo, you're not going to sell the system nor understand it. So it's where we're starting.
But I think that's part of the reason and why I'm so keyed up on asking questions, because if you ask a question that they can relate to, now they have an image in their mind. And part of it, a big part of what we do isn't necessarily selling them the product. It's figuring out how to design an experience that's going to meet their expectations. And once that's figured out, now it's a matter of how do I sell this deal to close the deal and get paid. But the focus first is creating a system or a design that will support the experience they're hoping for and then delivering on it.
Okay, so when we're talking about expanding your businesses and getting into other areas, one area that I know everyone's trying to capture is get on the wellness bandwagon, right? We're all thinking about wellness. We obviously are all affected by wellness. How do we get sales from wellness? I'd like to know, are you bringing these wellness conversations in to purposely sell these outdoor solutions? I'm going to have you start with that one because I think yours is directly related to that.
Yeah, we start with wellness from a couple of angles. Again, it's experience design first for wellness. Like, what is the intent of the wellness area within the home, indoor, outdoor, however you want to do it? And in certain cases, we tie it into the true medical research that's on the science-based side. So it's not entertainment wellness, I would say, but it's really science-based, exactly what we're doing with hospital groups, because in certain cases, people actually need therapeutic rooms for actual conditions. So again, it's part of listening to the customer and understanding what experience are they trying to build within that wellness environment within the house. And to us, it's not just about audio, obviously. It's audio with lighting and controlled, how do you control lighting within shaded environment? Everything that everybody here is actually experts in. So we just look at our piece of the experience to answer those wellness questions, either from, I would say, a soft science standpoint or a hard science standpoint, depending on what the client's trying to do.
Okay, Tomas, do you use that angle now as well, the wellness angle to try to get more outdoor sales?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's been more about bringing the outside in on the wellness side, or the inside outside a little bit. If that makes sense, I'm hoping it does.
It does. Biophilia inbound and home theaters outside.
Pretty much. I mean, for us, the biggest thing, like the screened-in patios are amazing for people because it gives them that escape from their house, but they're able to enjoy it that much longer throughout the year. Yeah, I wish I had a little better answer there.
That's okay. I'll lead you into it. We were going to have another friend of ours, Amanda, join us today, but she couldn't join us. And one of the things that she was talking about was outdoor conferencing. So that's something that you can take inside, outside. So if you need to meet, do Zoom meetings, do something like that. We didn't do that 10 years ago. Likely, we probably didn't put cameras and maybe beamforming microphones, so someone could do that out by the pool. Are you finding? Let's talk about some of the things that are that people are asking for or you are providing. Are you doing more of that type of stuff outside now?
Oh, yes. Thank you for rephrasing it for me. No, that's definitely increased. More people are looking for more different outside spaces. Right now, we're actually working on the reflecting pool next to a pool.
Cool.
I don't know.
Everybody needs that.
Yeah, I do.
You don't have one? No, it's all part of it, and I think it's enjoying the time we're spending within the house, within our property, expanding that reach, going back to what I was saying, is getting that ROI on the areas you have. Most people have big yards in the houses we're working on. Well, now maybe one can be dedicated a section to yoga or reflecting, adding in natural wood. Now it's an outside. It's an escape that's outside. That's kind of inside. That's in their house. It's creating more, almost like scenes, if you want to call it, that they can travel to within their house. We've got the pool. That's the entertainment area where the kids are. But maybe I want to hang out by the reflecting pool where I can find my peace and avoid the other space.
You said something that was interesting. So ROI, I'd recommend a slight terminology shift. So return on experience.
Yeah, ROE. Yes.
Seriously. And by the way, there's a great book on it from a company called 8, Return on Experience. That's one of the best design partners. We work with them at Apple to actually design the interiors of the retail stores. But I think return on experience thinking, again, changes the dynamic because investment immediately goes to dollars, right? So it's an indirect sell of the experiences you're building, and then you get into that second tier discussion.
Well, and I think here's the biggest thing we struggle with. We've spent the last 30 years designing an industry to understand how to integrate technology into a confined space. So our approaches have always been how to tailor a space or put our products in such a way that we utilize the space that we're given to do what we're doing, whether it's reflective surfaces, all the different things that we consider when we're doing inside. There's a whole different set of characteristics outside. And so the conversation of defining what they need is the starting point, similar to inside, but now it's a whole different approach to providing that because the space is no longer contained. It is no longer confined. So everything that you have to do is provide the experience while also dealing with a whole different set of interferers and almost an unlimited canvas, but a canvas that's not designed for you. So you're working in an environment that you have no control. So it becomes a little different on how you approach it to provide that, which is why it's so important to focus on the experience and then figure out how to get the products there, because there's what you're providing, what you're interacting, and what you're preventing from occurring all have to be considered in that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think one of the things that people forget is actually the power of audio from our perspective in outdoor environments really is phenomenal. When you hear a TIE fighter flying through redwoods, it's a whole different deal than when you're in your little home theater at home. And we use the exact same systems, but we build a larger sound field around that. And it's just epic. I mean, it's like you're watching the movie for the first time at a scale you've never heard it before. And again, return on experience.
Kind of like when I watch Jaws from my boat.
Yeah, some movies I won't watch outdoors.
I would love to hear that. So I'm going to start with you on this next question. Coordination. It sounds so, what is it different coordinating an epic outdoor holistic solution? I mean, yours are complex. You've got a lot of components and a lot of parts. How do you coordinate with, are there new people you have to coordinate with? Are there landscape people? Are there designers? Are there lighting designers? Are there general contractors, electricians? I mean, let's go through that whole thing. And if you have some tips and tricks on that as well, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, you hit on the head, and I mentioned this a little bit before, but the key is being at the true early design phase. And a lot of people that work in this industry, I've seen think they are, but the truth is they're not. So what happens is you have to be at the table with the owner, designing the initial experience, with the architect, with the landscape designer, when those first kind of imaginative discussions are happening, because that's when it's more free form, and you can insert a real solution that solves the client's problem at that point. To us, it feels very similar to what we do at commercial scale projects. I mean, it's really the creative aspect is very similar. And by the way, because we're a software company, we are building that intelligence over time, and over the coming years, we'll bring that down so you can do that at much smaller scale projects. But right now, there's just so many large scale projects that it's a great place to focus.
Before we go to Nathan, because I know he's chomping at the bit to get on his mic, Colin, I have a question for you. So, right, you're a software company. You guys have a new system, and you rely on an integrator to put it in. Are you being as specific as this speaker needs to be located at this coordinate on this property?
That's a great question. So in the first project with a new integrator that we're onboarding, yes, we always do that. We are very specific. We're actually on site with the integrator to make sure, I mean, they're experts. They know how to do this, but we've learned a few things from these projects and how to do it, and we're leveraging that experience. So we want to make sure that the first project is an absolute home run. At that point, the second project is a lot easier, right? Then usually by the second or third project, they're just running by themselves. They know how to do it. But it's different. Like literally, we had our lead integrator on this project said, Bob was like, I had to unlearn 30 years of habits of what I've done in this industry because I just don't think about directly addressable channels of audio. Everything is in zone thinking and multi-mono and all this other stuff that you're all experts in, but that's not how you do experience design. So kind of have to unlearn it. So the first project is how we do that.
Okay, Nathan.
Well, I was going to say, it's the same with everything we've done since the beginning of this industry. It's the 7 Ps. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. That's really what it comes down to. Doesn't matter if you're inside or outside. You have to understand the finished solution before you begin. Because, one of the things with your solution that can become a detriment is if you're waiting for the outside, yes, you've got conduit coming out. But if the homeowner says, you know what? I need seamless coverage on 5 acres. Now you're going to want access points on the perimeter of the property that are firing inward, that may be sectorized. You got elevation changes, you have all these things. So now you're talking massive runs of conduit. You're talking fiber. I'm talking remote power. All these different things that can disrupt an already created landscape. So, again, it depends on the customer. You've got a pretty good feel for your customer. You're like, yeah, this guy's going to want this, so we're going to do it beforehand. But it is. You've got to coordinate with electricians. You got to, the security personnel. I'm just talking on the Wi-Fi side. I've got electricians, security, where the wire is going, landscape, plumbing, from the irrigation, everything going in the yard, from what is the hardscape going to look like when it's completed compared is now, because water doesn't do well with Wi-Fi. We know what's the resonant frequency of water? 2.4 gigahertz. Okay, there's an issue when you have a tree between an access point. Is the client going to want them completely hidden? Are they going to want them contained in these things? All of these things, from an aesthetics, from a performance, from an understanding what the expectation is. There's multiple trades involved, but the key to all of it is working back. What's the finished product going to be, and how many people are going to be involved to get it there?
Go ahead.
So no, coordination, I think, is probably one of the most important things that we have to establish early on in any relationship with the client. We, for the most part, work through builders, which definitely does help in that process because they have their own process. But it really needs to start in the very beginning. As much as I do like my segregated approach, you do need to know exactly what the end result's going to be, because all of those things need to go back. And I was going with somewhere. And the one thing I did want to mention with coordination too is we have a temptation, at least as integrators, of trying to do everything in a house. We want to run the wire. We want to do this. We want to program it. We want to do everything. Unfortunately, we have a certain amount of staff that, yes, that can go up and down, but it's not elastic to a point that we can hire and fire as we need in that very day. So you need to understand, okay, what can I realistically accomplish? What makes more sense for the landscaper to do as opposed to us? For example, when we first started, we were trenching. We have shovels, we've got all backhoes.
That's fun.
As much as we're billing for it, it is not a good use of our time. So now it's really simple. We spray paint, this is where it's going. They lay the conduit, we pull the wire.
There is something pure and just refreshing about knowing all I have to do today is dig from here to here. There's no other mental involved. It's just digging today. There's
Or
a
when you
peaceful
cut with the circular saw. It's pretty cool.
You feel like you really did something when you dig a ditch, Yeah. So
I used to tell my techs, if you're complaining about digging a ditch today, let's switch. You sit in my chair. I know what I'm getting done today.
that's really interesting. We're going to spend some time on tips and tricks. The spray paint idea is an excellent idea. How about, do you then map when you've spray painted all these lines all over the place? Now these lines are hidden. Are you providing a map of where all these lines are, so that and filing them for later?
No, we definitely do. And one of the biggest things we started doing, and at first the builders, they're always going to try to cut costs wherever they can. But that's where we need to be knowledgeable, and we need to be able to stand our ground and say, this is why we're doing this, not because we're upselling you. This is why we want to do this. This is why I want a conduit. Because is the wire direct burial? Sure. What happens when the sprinkler guy comes in, who is the lowest bid, that's got no idea what's going on with the project? He comes in with his trencher and cuts every single one of your speaker lines. I can tell you because it happened. Ever since that day, everything goes in a conduit.
When I was an integrator, one of the reasons we actually did like this, where we subcontracted the electrical contractor to do all of our conduit work, was because one of the things their common way of doing business was always to provide an as-built, conduit schedule to the builder. So them adding in those conduits allowed for a single point of interaction between the builder and the electrician. We could still bill for it, but now it didn't require extra people on our team laying all that out to give the final as-built. So it was leveraging it for two reasons: labor and a final product.
Yeah, and they're good at conduit. Yep. So let's keep going on with these tips and tricks, because when we had a little pre-session where we were talking about this, Nathan, you had a really interesting point regarding Wi-Fi calling, and I would love for you to tell everybody about that. And this comes with educating the end user so that the end user can actually use what you've put in.
Let's hope I remember the point. So maybe hopefully this was it. Wi-Fi calling is a feature on a cellular phone, right? So your customer, if there is ever cellular signal, the cellular phone is going to go to cellular. So you don't have control over cellular, you have control over Wi-Fi. I've done seamless Wi-Fi calling, 6-acre property, the Hamptons, here you go. As long as your phone is in airplane mode. You don't have control over when that end user's device goes from Wi-Fi calling to cellular because it's built into its structure. You can't change it. All you can do, and this is again setting expectations, talking to them, I want seamless calling on Wi-Fi that you can guarantee me will always work. Good, so do I. As soon as you find it, let me know, I'll start selling it. What do you mean? Can't guarantee it because you have a cellular phone that's running an application to allow you to use Wi-Fi to make a call. It is a cellular phone by nature. So, can I give you a perfectly designed Wi-Fi network that will support seamless Wi-Fi calling? Yes. I can prove that to you. I can put your phone in airplane mode and I can walk the entire property. It is going to require a site survey. Properties go up and down. You have foliage. You have all these things. It will require a certain, same level of design you did on the spatial. It's going to require the same thing on Wi-Fi. I can guarantee you that. But your phone has to be in airplane mode. And we all know that in a normal day-to-day, they're very rarely going to put their phone into airplane mode and take it out and all those things. But again, so you set the expectation. What am I capable of doing? I can do this. This is the restriction. If you want something that's going to guarantee your phone will not use cellular, put it in airplane mode. That's the only thing you can do. I can't. Now, can I install a product that will that will ensure once a connection is made, you have the highest quality signal? Yes, that's product specific. So now I've not only done a good design, but I've used a product that ensures once you make a Wi-Fi call, it's going to maintain that as much as possible because it's got a higher quality of service.
Okay, and now, so since outdoor products take a lot larger beating typically than indoor products, how are you guys handling technology refreshes? What kind of maintenance contracts do you have for things, firmware updates, all these other types of things? Let's talk about how you handle those.
Yes, from our perspective, we use off-the-shelf Mac Minis for the compute. We support all the latest releases because it's there's different approaches, and I think we'll have a discussion of that. But from our perspective, we can't guarantee that the customer is not going to just allow things to be upgraded, and that's especially true on the phone side of things, right? So going back to what you were just talking about, there's no way that a certain customer is going to tell his wife, it's like, oh, sorry, you shouldn't have done that update, right? That's just not realistic. So what we try to do from our perspective is ensure we have a common baseline. Obviously, we handle all of our own software updates. Our system is deployed as a service. It's an annual subscription. They get updates, they get soundscape updates. So if we have a different version of the South Pacific scene, they get the latest and greatest as it gets improved. That's all automatic. So we just do it that way, just because we think that provides the best customer experience.
So wait a minute. So you're a company that actually, when Apple releases a new OS, you can upgrade to the OS and you don't have to wait 10 months like I had to, so my audio interface would work for the podcast?
So we're worse than
He's
that.
got a guy.
No, yeah, we've got a guy. So we work very closely with Apple. Apple's really nice and gives early advanced releases every year at a little thing called WWDC. And guess what? We start working on it as soon as it's available. So the day it ships, which I'll guarantee you there's going to be an iOS update sometime in September,
yes,
give or take a day. And if we don't work with that, that customer's phone is going to get upgraded whether you like it or not.
They're going to have a fruity experience.
There you go. So yes, we 100% stay on that. By the way, we're trying to improve that in this industry. We have a provider that we use some of their technology for distributed networking stuff. They're literally 2.5 years behind right now. And it's just, we're telling them, it's like, you're not getting any of these jobs because, you don't work on ARM Macs at this point. That's a year and change behind the industry. It's just not going to work. So from our perspective, you have to be current. Now, we're not going to support a long tail of old releases, right?
And that's
so
fair.
that's how we deprecate it.
So Tomas, how are you handling that? How are you handling upgrades? Something new came out, or your warranty, warranty, any of that stuff?
So back to the first thing you said was outdoor exposure to the elements, right? So we do a lot of landscape lighting. I love landscape lighting, cameras, speakers, all this stuff. So one, I think the first thing is product selection.
First thing is start using outdoor APs because you didn't mention them.
And outdoor
Yeah.
APs.
Says the networking guy.
You can't use the indoor ones outside?
That was a great segue.
No, but I mean, it's true though. I mean, everything from the TVs to the lights, but back to the maintenance. One of the most important things too is showing the customer why they need a maintenance, right? It can be as simple as having one guy go and brush off a landscape light because dirt got packed in around it. Now the light isn't that bright, and now maybe it gets packed with dirt, and the client calls and says, the light stopped working, come fix it. Or if you're proactive about it, the lights stay clean, and you say, hey, by the way, we cleaned all the lights, we saw the one over there, got a little dirty, there may be some moisture inside, let's keep an eye on it. Now you're on top of things. Same thing with the cameras. You know, every time you go out, check the cameras. Are they working well? Check them in the daytime, but also at night, because you're not really gonna see dust or dirt buildup during the day, because the light's gonna shine right through. The second you get a little dirt, that IR is gonna white out the camera image, and then you're gonna see it. And then the time that they're actually gonna go to the recorder and actually see what happened, because you know, a raccoon ate half of their car, they're not gonna be able to see anything because that camera's dirty.
Tomas, was it you that brought up avoiding dome cameras in certain situations?
That was Amanda.
Please, say why.
So what Amanda was saying was that dome cameras, where there's a lot of pollen buildup, the pollen gets attracted to the dome and gets stuck. So now during the springtime, you end up with yellow cameras, and now at nighttime, the infrared, it's going to bounce right back into that camera, and you're not going to be able to see a thing out of that camera.
I think that's one of the biggest things, and you kind of touched on it in the segue. Outdoor spaces are different. So the products you're using are different, and the way that they are installed are different, and the warranties associated with the products are different. So, you know, take an interior access point. Every interior access point I have is a limited lifetime warranty. Every outdoor access point has a 1-year warranty.
Right.
They are different. If you don't use the weatherproof installation grommets that are going to prevent moisture from getting in and install it correctly, you have no warranty. If you do, you know, if you want to paint it, because you don't generally paint an indoor AP, but outside, oh yeah, I want to paint it. Good. Did you use a paint with metal flake in it? Guess what? Your Wi-Fi isn't going to work. So there's different considerations outside, but it really comes down to the same thing. Installing it correctly, using the right product so you can support the manufacturers, and setting an expectation. Outdoor products are going to change. If I install an outdoor access point in northern Minnesota, it better be able to hit -50 below. Not all outdoor products work the same. You've got extreme condition and standard condition. If I take that same access point, the extreme one, or even just take a regular outdoor, and I put it on a beach in Malibu, if you get a year out of it, you are lucky. The salt water is going to destroy it. But again, setting the expectation and understanding it is a different product. You can't use indoor products, but even still, there's going to be maintenance, there's going to be upkeep, there are things with it because you have an environment you cannot control. So it's setting the expectation, understanding the product, and service contracts are great. And it could be something as simple as within the service contract, we include this much, a percentage of the install that can be replaced each year due to standard destructive wear and tear. So if the customer is paying for this service over time, there's a dollar figure worth of product that could be replaced every year as needed, or different things. There's different approaches, but it's going to fail. It's going to have to be replaced. It's a different environment.
Yeah, and for those of you selecting outdoor products, make sure they have the actual certifications and tests, like mil-spec A10 for you know, UV, and for salt spray, and ingress protection ratings that are appropriate for where you are. That's water and dust penetration. Just don't buy a product because it says it's outdoor. Make sure it actually has the rating. So we're about out of time, and I wanted to leave a little bit of time for questions. Is there anything that we've missed that anybody would like to say now?
I'd love to hear some questions. So,
Just the last thing I was going to say regarding the outdoor nature of things. If we have an access point, it's never plugged in, and we leave it inside a closet, inside a house, is it ever going to break down?
Yes.
Okay, can you
The
go?
spider got in there and crawled in there, laid its eggs, and corroded the actual terminals, and now it's no longer usable.
Okay, besides that example,
No, it's never been connected. It's just going to be the same way it was when you put it in there.
well, not outdoors. Outdoors, anything you put outdoors is going to be beaten up the second it gets opened from the box. Mother Nature never stops.
And we didn't even talk about this, but anybody who's done the commercial realm and you're Bixby certified or anything, nothing enters or leaves a structure that isn't surge protected
I was going to bring that up.
for very
Ooh,
specific
forgot that.
reasons. One of the reasons we have access points that have SFPs built in is you can put the access point out on the property, have your electrician 120 volts, and the only connection to the network is a fiber. Not carrying electricity across fiber, so you've now isolated and protected the access point and the network. Losing a $3,000 access point, frustrating. Losing a $50,000 network because you connected a $3,000 access point with copper, very frustrating.
Yeah, Nathan brings up a really important point. You need to understand grounding, and you cannot have multiple points of ground. That is dangerous, and it can wreak havoc on the entire electrical system. So don't be driving ground rods everywhere, and don't be grounding things to everything. Grounding, there should be a single ground for the entire electrical system, and you introducing additional grounds can be a nightmare. So make sure that you're working with someone that really understands the electrical system when you're doing that. Anything else that we're missing before we open up the floor, hopefully for some questions?
Hopefully not, but let's see what the questions bring up.
All right. Anybody have any questions? If not, we've satisfied everything really well.
You figured it all out. It's
Yeah.
going to be all perfect installations in every outdoor environment, regardless of weather or experience you're trying to deploy. Great.
So one thing we didn't touch on, which just popped into my head as he was saying it, as I was going to do a joke or whatever, but the characteristics of how the products we use inside, we think about how they work inside the home with reflective surfaces and all the different things. They change when they're outside. You've got different considerations, but how you install them will significantly impact how well they perform. So when you're dealing with small spaces, you can have big mistakes and still have an okay experience. When you're doing massive spaces, a small change will cause a drastic difference in experience. So that's one of the big things when you get outside is it becomes vitally important that you're installed correctly and you understand more correctly how they work. Your solution, when it performs the way it's supposed to, like you said, every single speaker is at a very specific height. If he programs it to be those ways and they're at different heights, it's going to absolutely create a different experience. Wi-Fi is the same way. Sound, when it's getting into different things, again, there's so many different solutions. Light, as it's hitting an outdoor TV. Putting an outdoor TV in such a way that you're considering what time of day they're going to use it, because it's going to change the reflective nature of where the sun is. And all of these things are important because you have to understand how the device performs, and then the installation of that said device becomes very important.
Yeah, there's something that you said that's important. I mean, one of the things we're really pushing from an industry standards standpoint in this area is what we're using is all connected products. It seems kind of silly that those intelligent connected products don't actually know if they're working or not. So part of the support issues is you should know that you have support issues before your customer does. So for every point that we connect, we try to do that. Now, obviously today, we can't go all the way to the speaker, but there's not any reason in today's world that couldn't happen. I mean, it just feels a little bit archaic, quite frankly, that we're hoping these systems work. And that goes back even for the lighting example that you said, with modern technology that it's very inexpensive, you should know that the light's working and it's projecting. You should know that the camera has been impacted before the customer knows, right? So I think that's something that we need to kind of turn on its head, stop being reactive about support, both from a technology development standpoint, but also an integration. We have smart systems for a reason. Let's actually develop and deploy a customer experience that's reliable because it's intelligent and tells you when there's failures.
Wait, you want a smart home?
Shocking, I know, shocking.
Nathan, the other thing that you said that I wanted to, is a pet peeve of mine, is outdoor TV, you said. So many people put inside TVs in covered areas, and they think, well, it's not going to get rain. it's okay to do that. That is totally not okay to do because those things are designed for non-condensing humidity environments. It'll shorten the service life, and it can frankly be dangerous, and it could even cause a fire. So you've got to use outside products outside. I know you might be like, hey, there's a giant roof, but it's screened in. It's still not okay for an indoor TV to be mounted in an outdoor situation. So just please use outdoor products for outdoor situations.